Hey guys, JT Gamer here from Printability, and today we're going to be talking about my project that I'm working on and I will be working on for the next kind of year or two. Now I'm working on a humanoid robot, and I've done some bits. I showed the controller a while ago just for one of the arms. It was a little project that I wanted to work on and it came out so well it inspired me to actually probably try and do the rest of it, and I thought, let's try it, let's make it into a little YouTube series. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to start up YouTube, was to kind of work on a project and be able to have you guys come and follow me through it. Alright, so here I have what is going to be the arm. Now you can see it's incredibly hollow, it is almost completely hollow. And the reason I've done this is I wanted it to be as lightweight as possible. So that I can manipulate it, use it for parts. So for example, I changed these parts around so that I can fit this on, and this, it doesn't look like much, but this is actually quite an essential part. I'm going to take it off the arm. None of these parts here, these aren't actually going to be kept. None of this is glued together yet, so it kind of cracks and twists and bends. Like, it shouldn't bend like that. But you can see it's got a working hinge, it's got bearings in it. Sorry, my screen's this way, that's why I keep checking to make sure I'm actually in focus. But this is the most important part. So this is a stepper motor for a 3D printer. I thought I might as well go for something that's quite fast and reliable, even if it is quite heavy. So I'm just going to take it out of its casing that I printed, which is quite tricky because I made it quite tight. There we go. So there's the case, nice and simple. Little hole in there so it's the hinge. There's the motor, and if we take the motor off with its little part, this one will be being kept because it is, I think it's like 80%, maybe 100% infill. This is the piston. Technically it doesn't need this bit, but I'm not taking it off. And that is all the piston is. It's hollow on the inside with this little hex. This bit here does actually come out, but I might be able to pull it out if I... There we go, I'm getting it. There we go. So this is completely hollow on the inside. Like, I could put my hand in, well, not my hand obviously, but I put my finger in there, and when I push these two back together it creates this, which doesn't look like much, but this is a screw thread. I think it's 10mm, there's a centimetre, and when I screw it in, because it's hollow on the inside, this gets shorter, meaning that the motor gets pulled close to this point, and this acts like a piston, or in the case of a human this would act like a muscle. So I'm designing this to be the bicep of the actual robot. Now I still need to glue parts on here to make sure this doesn't like fall apart when it's being used, or if there's too much weight load it will just kind of pop out like that. So there's still a lot of parts I need to work on, but this is definitely a good idea, like a good starting point, and it's not even that slow. I was expecting it to be really slow, but the faster the motor, the faster this will come in and out. And there is one other reason why I've designed it like this, instead of just putting a motor kind of in the elbow like a servo or something, and this redirects the force. So with a motor in the elbow, if it was to have too much weight it might jam and stop spinning, but this converts rotational energy into linear energy, or if you're talking about torque, the other way around, linear energy into rotational energy. And because the spindle of the motor goes from the top to the bottom like that, instead of like that, it means that it won't jam because it's not having a pressure pulling up on the actual spindle itself. The only amount of pressure is going from what's supporting the motor, which is as simple as a 3D printed part. So there won't be a point where this will jam up unless it is caught on something, like physically caught and unable to pull this closer, and in that case that would just pop out, so it won't damage the motor at all. And being a 3D printer motor, these motors are typically quite strong. Not the strongest, no, bear in mind they're not the strongest, but I don't have a large budget for this at the moment, so it's a work in progress. But yeah, it'll move the arm back and forth, and if I can get the code working before I finish this video, I will show you. I've got it kind of working a bit, but it kind of judders, because again, coding is not my speciality, so to speak. But yeah, this is a little start for it, because you can see it slowly works its way. So I'm very hungry. So yeah, as I just try and twist that in there a little bit, it feels so weird doing it with the stepper mode. Oh wait, that's not going to twist it because it's a motor. If I do this and then I put it back on to where it would have been, like this, you can see where I've shortened it. If I keep twisting it, this arm starts to bend, as you can see. Like now, you see this bit's bent because I haven't glued it in place. When that's glued in rigid, which I'll probably have to do something to tighten that up to make sure it stays rigid, that acts as an actual fully functional muscle. It lifts it up from the forearm, again not glued in place, from the forearm to the shoulder. It acts as the bicep muscle, except for the bicep muscle expands outwards, causing the muscle to the arm to raise up, whereas this contracts, pulling it up, not forcing it up, not like expanding and pushing it up. Now what I could do, if this isn't strong enough, is have the exact same thing going from here to here, and if I get the ratios identical, they won't counteract each other, they'll work alongside each other to perform double the amount of strength, and it won't change the speed, but it could increase the speed on like a heavier object, because it would have the amount of weight would be split between two motors. So this is actually quite a cool little design. I'm proud that I've managed to get this working, and hopefully I'll be able to get this working with the code for the end of the video. So since the last clip, I've actually moved back to Plymouth and disassembled this whole thing, thinking that my camera was turned on because it was a cheap camera that I bought, and it turned off after about 10 seconds of recording because I'd done a setting wrong. So this is just a quick little, I'm actually gluing the parts together now. I've fully disassembled it, and I'm gluing the blue and the black pins together to try and make it a little bit stronger, to stop it from bending and twisting. And you can see I've actually made a little battery pack in the corner as well. That one was really fun to make. That holds lithium-ion batteries, or some people might know them as vape batteries. And yeah, so I hope you just like this tiny little time lapse. So here we have the parts. So we've got the hinge here, which I'm just going to assemble now. It's not too difficult to assemble. We've got a bearing on this side and on that side even, and then unfortunately the bearing's got a bit rusty recently. And we've just got a hole there. So I've designed this piece, which is the tightest one. So this one goes through there. That little one just aligns it. As you can see, it starts aligning it, and then you get it perfectly in place, and then just pop it in. It's a bit of a tight squeeze though, but yeah, so that already makes it pretty strong, but we've still got that side to worry about. I lost the design for that one. I was going to design another one, so I just designed this little piece. Printed it a little bit small, so I just put a bit of tape around it, give it a really nice snug fit. So now we've got a nice little hinged arm there. I'm going to make sure we get these ones the right way round, like that, and like that. And then we've got the piston here, which I've actually glued onto the shaft. If you can't see, it's super glued on, just because it was coming off with the weight when I was testing it. So we just get this piece here. It's designed so that there's a small hole there for where the wires come out, nice and snug. Again, will need to be glued in place in the future, but for now it's fine. So we put this, I'll turn it around that way actually so you guys can see it a little bit better. Just put this one onto this little hole, nice little cap there, and then the same on this side, and a nice little cap on that one, and that is the assembly part done. Now we've got the nice confusing part over here. This took me a long time to get used to, and eventually I did it. A little battery pack, which again I was prototyping with, and unfortunately put it around the wrong way around, so you can see there's a little bit of a warp there where it overheated it a little bit, because these are really strong batteries and kind of dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with them, and I vaguely know what I'm doing with them, to say the least. But I've got a rotary encoder, which means it twists both ways. Can't really show that much on camera, but yeah, it twists. Oops, got it stuck. There we go. Twists both ways, and you can push it down. There's a little button there which will reset the position of the motor. That's not necessarily a key point. I did a little drawing schematic of how I've done all this. because it did take me a long time to actually figure out. Now it's always tricky getting this way the right way around, so turn that upside down. There's the negative, so we'll put the negative cable just into that little hole for now, because I haven't soldered it in, and then the positive into this one. And then we've got the cable going from the stepper motor driver to the stepper motor, so plug that in like that. I've actually gone through like 3 of those little drivers, so I need to get some more to complete the rest of the project. I mean, I was guaranteed to need to get more anyway. And then just to power up the Arduino Uno, I've just got the USB female cable, so plug that one into there, and hopefully twists it in 2 separate directions. So what the rotary encoder does is it gives a positive and a negative feedback. So if I bring it up a little bit more this way, you can see when it gives a positive charge it will go one way, and then when it gives a negative one it brings it back the other way. Now this is quite slow, this motor can't go too much faster than this, and every now and then it does come back for a little bit, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, if it's the coding, if it's my dodgy wiring, who knows. But we have an arm that goes forwards and backwards. It can be brought back if I just keep twisting it at like a kind of slow ratio. Brings it all the way back, and then it catches on the back where I didn't quite do it right. So I mean, for a prototype, well, not necessarily a prototype, for the first the Mark 1 of the robotic arm, this isn't too bad. Now you're going to see probably in the next video how I'm going to put the rotary encoder into this arm project, and how I'm going to make it go from having to control with a hand to not having to use your hands at all. Now that one's going to be a really fun one, because I've been waiting to put these two together for a very long time, and it does involve one of my previous videos, just to give a slight hint. I'll also put a little screenshot of what the code was. I mean, I've never done coding before, so it was confusing for me at the start, but now I'm kind of slowly getting into it and getting the hang of why it works specific ways. And again, the wiring here took me a long time to get used to. Ended up blowing up a few capacitors, dropping a box of them all over the floor, which you'll see on my Instagram page, which is going to be in the link in the description. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.